All right, let's get started. So, welcome everyone to our Intelligence Module webinar. My name's Isabella. I'm one of the trainers here at Dental4Windows, and I've got Neil as well here with me.
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. Just before we get started, we do have a little bit of housekeeping. So, this webinar today is going to be recorded, and you will receive an email with the recording and relevant links to assist you with the recording. All participants are on listening mode. However, if you need to ask a question or interact with us, you can use the chat or the Q&A box. And at the end, we will have a question time. Today, we'll be covering a few key topics. So first, we'll be covering the introduction to the Business Intelligence module. We'll be looking at a summary of reports, appointment treatment plan, fee level and insurance fund analysis. We will cover a huddle checklist and KPI reporting. All right, Neil, over to you to do the demo.
Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're just going to discuss quickly what Business Intelligence module actually is. It's an overview and summary of key data that exists within the database. So it's presented in a way that allows to measure and track main measures that impact the success of your practice and allows you to make informed business decisions. So some of it works on KPIs, which is a measure of value which demonstrates how effectively you are achieving key business objectives, and we'll go through those. To access the Business Intelligence module, from the main menu, we go into Location Management and we go into Reports. In Reports, we have Group. Now, Business Intelligence module is a purchased module. If you do have it, when we click on the drop down here and we click on Business Intelligence module, you'll see reports appear. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Appointed Patient Statistics Report. This gives you a breakdown of your appointments in your book and gives you a bit of data on your appointments. When we run this report, you can select your date range. You can select location if you have more than one location. Otherwise, you won't see that part. And you can select either groups or books. I've chosen books, and you can either say select individual book or highlight all books. This report can also be run on particular statuses. Or we can click on here to apply all statuses. So you can do this only for attended, for example. When we click OK, this will now give you a summary of your appointments. It will give you data such as male versus females, adults, children, how many were new appointments, so new patients, how many had another appointment, and were they in the morning or afternoon. There are a couple of settings that determine how this works, especially with the adult versus child. There is a general setting where you can tell it what age is the patient an adult. So if we go into our general settings, location setup and general settings, and we go into the patients group, we have an option here, what age is the patient considered an adult? And here you can put in an age there, and then that will determine which column the patient appears in. The other thing it relies on is that each appointment book must be linked to a provider and one provider only. So in your provider records, you can set the provider to an appointment book. So it's recommended to have a different book for each provider. The next report is the fee level financial analysis report. What this report allows you to do is it allows you to do a comparison between different fee levels. And this is based on production, so based on invoices raised. So here we have our fee levels. So you can select here from your fee level, which ones you want to compare. And also you can select which providers this report is done on. So if I choose month to date, for example, and I click OK, this will now give me a breakdown of the different fee levels. What this allows you to do is it allows you to see which fee levels are being assigned to most of your patients. So you can see here, it's comparing the fee levels with each other. Okay. Now in this report here, we have procedures, items, classifications. This determines on what item numbers this report is calculated on. So to have an item included in that, we go into our items, location setup, items, and we go to record drop down and we come down to procedures classifications. And this is where we set up what category those items belong in. So by default, we have 0, items used 1, which means by default, items starting with number 1, and so on. You can create your own category in here. So you might want to have a category called Crown and Bridge and have items relating to Crown and Bridge in that category. So the next report I'm going to do is I'm going to do the insurance funds financial analysis. This is the same logic. However, this compares insurance funds. So again, if I do month to date, you can now see what percentage of your production per health fund. And again, you'll see the different columns, which is this period you've selected, so month to date, year to date, and last financial year. So what this allows you to do, if you look here and say, okay, we don't have as many AHM patients as we do Bupa. That allows you to then say, okay, maybe we should do a targeting campaign or advertising campaign targeted to AHM patients, for example. Then we'll come to the huddle checklist. This report is very beneficial for your morning huddle and help you to prepare your day. So when we run this report, typically you're going to say today, and again, you can select which appointment book. Or you can say select all for all books. This will now give you a breakdown of appointments for the day and any procedures that are being done on the day. So under today's treatment here, if you link the treatment plan to an appointment, this will have those item numbers in this column here. There's also a setting where you can tell it hygiene appointment. So you can tell it what items account for a hygiene appointment. So to do that, when we go into the huddle checklist, we have report settings. This is where you tell it that information. So here we can tell it hygiene items, which means the next hygiene appointment will be any appointment linked to treatment plan with these item numbers. These 4 columns are there, not pre-filled, but you can tick on those to say whether it requires bleach, complete lab, or you can rename these. So those 4 columns there. So you print this out and you can put ticks in here if you need to. And of course you can put in notes in here as well. Next one we're going to talk about is items performed by a provider. This report will give you a rundown of the items performed and the number of times that item was performed. So again, if I go month to date and I choose all providers, and I go, okay, this will now show me how many times an item number has been performed in that period for this provider. You can do the report on individual providers, as I said, or locations if you have multiple locations. The next report will be the Key Performance Indicators Report Summary. So this is a breakdown of 11 of the main KPIs that most people want to run. This can be run as a graph or as a report or both. Now this is done by the financial year. It breaks it down per month. So again, we select our providers. And now if I click on report settings, these are the 11 different reports that you can have. If they're all highlighted, which means it'll show every single one of these reporting ones in that report. The first one is clinical hours, which is a number of hours in the appointment book that are assigned for work time. So when you create a break or you create a preset slot, you have the option of work time, yes or no. So if we do a pre-book slot, you have the option here as work time. This will then determine if it's counted as a clinical hour or not. So the concept is if there's 8 hours in the day, 1 hour lunch, which is work time no, you have 7 clinical hours. Appointments are automatically assigned as work time. Production. Production is the total amount of items entered into treatment, regardless of if they've been invoiced or not. If it's been entered into the treatment tab, it's counted as production, or also known as gross production. Then we have production per hour, which is the production divided by clinical hours. New patients seen within the period, which is based on the patient's first seen date, the first item entered into treatment. Collection percentage is the percentage of invoices that are paid on the day. Percentage of patients reappointed gives you an idea of what percentage of patients are making another appointment when they have treatment done. So they have another appointment in the future. Amount paid per unique patient seen in the last 6 months. So that's your total receipts divided by your number of patients. So it gives you an average per patient. average appointment time is using the arrived, checked in, checked out feature. So average appointment time is the time between checked in and checked out. Number of active patients seen in the last 18 months is literally how many patients you've seen in the last 18 months. Number of key items. So you assign what items are key items. And we have attrition rate, which is the percentage of patients who last visited more than 18 months ago. So they've basically lapsed. In the reports page, if I click at the operations drop-down, we have an option where we set the KPI summary report key items list. This is where you can add items as the key items. And you can add as many items in there as you like, and that will be counted in that part of the report. And you've got the same for the graphs, the same 11 reportables. So if we do a report, this is what it will look like. Sometimes it can take a bit to process the report depending on how much data there is. So there's our reports. And you can see it's broken it up per month and per provider. So if I scroll down, we come to each provider, which will give you their details. If we were to do a graph, it will report it as a line graph. And there's your graph. Some people prefer to see a graph, some people prefer to see a report. It's purely personal preference. Then we have the KPI item statistics report 1. This report is to use to compare providers and items used. So here you can select the item numbers and then you can select provider provision. So if you set up a provider as a dentist or a hygienist, you can limit the report to those particular positions. Select a date range. I'm going to click OK. This will now give you a comparison of how many times those items were performed per each provider. The next report is KPI item statistics report 2. This report is really only used if you have multiple locations. Because what this will do is this will compare your locations. So if you have 2 different locations on the same database, you can compare the item numbers being performed in each location. If you have 1 location in the database, you're going to see the 1 column, obviously. The next one, I'm going to jump to the treatment plan analysis report. This gives you a breakdown of incomplete versus completed treatment plans, and also active versus inactive plans. So again, we select our date range and you can select what do you want to report on. Do you want to report on new plans only, completed, incomplete, or all 3? Same with active versus inactive. You can also tell it that if a plan is older than 12 months, count it as being inactive. So here we can see for each provider, it shows you your new active plans, new inactive, and also all plans. That's the new plans. Incompleted plans, which is items in treatment plan that have not been done yet. And then completed plans are ones where the plan has been completed, so all items have been moved over to treatment. This relies on a couple of things done in the treatment plan. In the treatment plan, it's important that we create a new plan or a new chart every time, because that's what the date is counted on. Also, down the bottom right-hand corner, we have active treatment plan. This is what considers the plan as being active or not. And if there are items in the plan that have not been done, so they are yellow and white, it'll be counted as an active incomplete plan. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the KPI 011 report. This is very similar to the summary report we did earlier, only it goes more in depth. This one has 36 different reportables within the report. And again, this can be done as a report, as a graph, or both. So if we go to report settings, these are our 36 reportables that we can use. Now, you might not want to use all of these. We can deselect and you can click on the ones that you just want to have. Clinical hours is the same as the one that we talked about in the summary report. It's hours that are marked as work time in the appointment book. Again, gross production is the total amount of items entered into treatment. Then we have net production. Net production is invoices raised, less discounts and refunds. So these two here may not ever be the same amount. Then we have net production per clinical hour. So this divides your net production by number of clinical hours, gives you an idea of your production per hour. Direct costs is your expenses. So when you do treatment, you can enter an expense. So if we go to treatment, you can enter in an expense, and that is counted as your direct cost. Probably the most common one is lab costs. Then we have net direct costs as a percentage of net production. So it basically gives you an idea of what percentage of your net production is being taken up by expenses. Then we have net production less clinical hours. Less direct costs. And then we have that figure by clinical hour. Then we have patients seen. So this gives you the number of patients who have been seen in the period. Then we have new patients seen per workday. So this will divide the new patients seen by the number of days worked. They are calculated by items set as work days in the appointment book. And that's one of the reasons why it's important that if you don't work on a day, you're closed, for example, you mark that day as a holiday. So it's not counted in this report. New patient seen is the same as the one in the summary report, which is based on the first seen date of the patient. And again, we have new patients seen per workday. Then we have spare appointment hours percentage of all. That's basically telling you what percentage of your books are white space, no appointments. Then we have average appointment treatment time, same as the one in the summary, which is the difference between checked in and checked out. Average wait time is the average time between arrived and checked in. So you can see where those two features apply. Then we have appointment failed to attend. These are all appointments marked with the FTA status. Then we have FTA per workday. So again, looks at days that are working. And we have the same for unable to attend, marked with the UTA. Then we have treatment plan value, which is the value of treatment plans that are currently active. Then it breaks it down, treatment plan value per patient. So it gives you an average of your treatment plans per patient. Percentage of treatment plans completed. This gives you an idea of what percentage of treatment plans go through from planning stage through to completion. So every item in the treatment plan is done. Treatment value without a plan is items entered directly into the treatment tab without a plan. Pay on the day is invoices raised that are finalised on the same day. So there is no outstanding balance on the invoice. And that could be a combination of health fund claim, patient payment, or discount, or a combination of the three. What patients owe? This is a total number of your debtors. So you can see the value of your debtors as a whole number. Percentage of patients reappointed is the same as the summary, which is patients who have attended, had treatment done, and made another appointment. Active patients is patients who have been visiting in the last 18 months. So a patient is considered active if they've visited in the last 18 months. Then we have net production value per active patient. So this goes back to the report at the top, the net production, divides it by the percentage of active patients. Then we have attrition rate, which is again patients who last visited 18 months ago or further. Items usage by group. This looks at the items in the procedures classifications. And it gives you an idea of a breakdown of those. So this is where you can do a categorization and call it root canal or call it crown and bridge or something like that. Then we have fee type net production by percentage, by amount, or by count. So what this tells you is the percentage of items performed on that fee level. And then you've got the amount, which is the dollar value, and the count, which is the number of times those items were performed. Then we have fund type, which is the same concept, only insurance fund. So again, it breaks it down to percentage of production, which was basically claimed on a health fund. And then they've got the dollar amount and also the count. If I cancel there, on here, we have fee level set and insurance funds set. These two apply to those last 6 reports. So you can tell here what fee levels do you want that to report on, or what insurance funds you want that to report on. Okay. So now I'm going to click OK, and we're going to run this report. And this one can take a minute or two to load. So while we're waiting for that to load, if you have any questions, feel free to type it into the chat or into Q&A. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Neil. We'll just give everyone a moment.
Because this report's compiling all of those reports, it can take a while to load. So it shouldn't be too much longer. When it comes up, you'll see what the report will look like. And this is reporting on all 36 of those reportables. So as I said, in that report settings, you can click any report that you want to focus on and ignore the rest. Okay, should be nearly there. It won't take as long if you only select 1 or 2 of the reportables. Does anyone have any questions at all? Okay, here's our report. So you can see now it's showing each provider, and it's breaking down each reportable here for months of the year, of the financial year. So as we scroll down, you will see we have our fee type comparison and your insurance comparison. So it'll give you a breakdown here per provider. Okay, so that's a rundown of the Business Intelligence module. If you don't see items in here, let us know if you're interested, and we can certainly have one of our people contact you to discuss having it installed. I shall now send back to Isabella.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, beautiful. So as you all know, we are here to help you. We do have quite a variety of support. We do have our eSupport, which is our online platform where you can look at articles and videos. There will be articles in eSupport that you can read over that Neil has gone through today in the live demo. We'll link that anyway in the email that gets sent to you with the recording. Mm,
We've just had somebody ask, what is the difference between a huddle checklist and a standard print day sheet? The big difference there is the day sheet will show you the appointments, whereas the huddle will actually tell you more information, such as items performed on this one, next appointment, any allergies or that sort of thing. So the huddle will give you more information.
Perfect. Thank you, Neil. And yes, we have our website and as well as our Facebook group that we continually do tips and tricks and have a long list of information on there. Okay, perfect. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to type it in. Otherwise, I'll let you all go about your day. All right, Neil, it doesn't look like there's any other questions.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.